Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 28th of February, last day of the month, comes to you from London. And a bit more red on the screen today, so we'll look at what's going on. We'll start with currencies, then look at stock indices, some other commodities, bond rates maybe, and then last of all, we'll look at energy. NBP was making new historic lows, so we'll take a look at that and in line with the post I put out on LinkedIn this morning, how low will we go? And of course, we put out report to clients first thing this morning. If you want to try all the reports, just let me know. And if you want to go on the point and figure training to understand how these targets work, also just let me know and we'll get you on the course. Just send me a message in LinkedIn. So we start by looking at the dollar index, and that is fairly flat this morning. Probably the big story is sterling. We're seeing rise off the back of this Northern Ireland agreement being agreed. We've seen pop up in sterling this morning. We're back above the 120 level, 120.79 at the moment. So that's looking stronger. And if we look at sterling against the euro, we're just ticking higher here as well. Just an improvement there on the basis that we're going to see improved relations between the UK and the EU. So the market taking that in its stride. And we're seeing that in other currencies. For example, the Australian dollar nudging the 180 level. So really quite interesting there. We have seen dollar weakness against the US dollar, and that's just playing through. So we've got some quite interesting targets there, 184, another 2.5% higher. It's a currency I'm watching quite closely at the moment. Now looking at Bitcoin, we're sitting at 23,300. We're just really waiting to see if we can break this 25,000 level. We did put an upside target of 30,150. If we can make a new high, we activate a target to 32,150. So crypto enthusiasts are waiting for that. Medium term, we're bullish. Short term, we're just crossing the cloud. We have got some targets. If you're trading Bitcoin, take a look at the 1 minute charts. The Nasdaq sitting at 12,057. Just struggling hitting the cloud here at the moment on the weekly chart, and of course we need to activate this upside target if we think we're going to see a recovery, but for the moment we've got downside target activated 3.3% lower and an upside target 4% higher not yet activated. We need to move above that level to activate that. Looking at the futures today, we're fairly flat. The S&P future 0.04% change, the same with the Nasdaq E-mini, so a bit hard to call the market opening. Pretty flat at the moment, and that means other markets are pretty flat too. We're seeing the FTSE future sitting up 0.16%. Of course, this has broken higher. Very different story from the US markets, and we've got upside targets some 17 and 28% higher for the FTSE, having made new highs. Taking a look at the DAX in Germany, had a strong day yesterday, breaking above the cloud here on the weekly and the lagging line going through, so that's looking quite positive. So we're looking a little bit better there as well, given everything that's going on in Ukraine. Germany was quite hard hit, but now recovering quite strongly. And if we look at Japan, no change there. So fairly flat, but still bullish. And we have got good upside targets for the Japanese market, and that is attracting quite a lot of interest from Western investors. We saw the Hang Seng down just 0.8%, so it's still below the cloud, having hit resistance there, and bearish on that short-term chart. This is the 60-minute chart, of course, my weekly, daily, and 60-minute, long-term, medium-term, and short-term. And we are seeing here that we have got these downside targets. China, on the other hand, the Shanghai Composite was actually looking better. And we are up about 2/3%. We're just in bullish territory there on the 60-minute chart. The daily, medium term looking better. We've got work to do to get through on this weekly chart. So waiting for that longer term move there. The Aussie market had a pretty bad day yesterday. Last night it was up 0.5%, retracing about half the losses, but still in a bear trend there. So not looking great for Aussie stocks. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute. Just looking at some of the other commodities, got sugar up nearly 1%. That's looking very strong indeed, having broken higher. Big upside target. So inflation for sugar prices is still very much on the cards. Looking at wheat, we have actually been weaker for wheat. We've come back through the cloud, having really spiked to very high levels, and we're testing the new lows there. So that's a little bit better news for inflation on wheat prices. And if we look at corn, much the same picture, just falling through the cloud there as well, but no clear downside targets, a mixture of upside and downside. Gold sitting at $18.10. Will it find support at $1,800? That's the big question. We've got downside targets. We are pulling back. Medium term, we're holding on to the bullish trend, and long term on the weekly chart, not quite clear yet whether we've got a cloud transition. We've been in the cloud really for the last 2 years. All eyes really waiting for a break of that $1,930, $1,950 level to make new highs, and then through 2000, of course, then we would start to run. Looking at silver, we're sitting at $20.50, so again, just struggling there. And if we look at some of the other metals like copper, that's up 0.75%, so looking a little bit stronger there on copper, and the trend is certainly better on that medium-term chart. Now taking a look at 10-year yields, sitting at 3.94%, just back above the cloud on that daily chart, and really now pointing to this 526 target. We move higher, we activate that target, we're just waiting for that confirmation, and we've got short-term targets to around 4% there, so that's quite key as well. Looking at some of the tech bellwethers, we've got Apple, that's sitting at 147, a long way from that 130 support level that we did breach temporarily. All eyes are really on, can we activate this upside target? We've got downside targets, some 3 and 4% lower at the moment, and the weekly cloud has wandered into negative territory. Tesla had a very strong showing yesterday, and that's having doubled from $100 to over $200, a really big move there. But the targets going higher still are less clear, and so that's going to be something to watch with interest. We did have a target off the bottom at 191. That's passed, which is bullish. We've now got a downside target building, so looks like we might pull back there. Looking at the energy mix, so we'll come back to this chart of NBP, but looking first of all at Brent Crude, we see here we are just in this transition zone for Brent Crude. Can we break this pattern? This is going to be the key. Can we break this pattern on Brent Crude? We've got a building base there. It's a triangle. One of the beauties of these triangle patterns is you just have to wait for the break. So we are bearish below the cloud on the daily, but on the 60-minute we're looking better, and we do have some upside targets there. We did go out as bullish to clients today. We're up 0.75%, looking better there. US nat gas has also looked pretty strong on the short-term chart. Of course, longer term we are bearish, but short-term we're looking better there. That's quite good. We have seen some short-term targets kicking in since this morning, so now looking a little bit weaker, and so we're down 2% there. Emissions, we're back above the 100 level. We closed above there last night. We opened lower today, but we're back above this 100 level. The longer we can hold this 100 level, the more confidence we have. We've got upside targets. CR report out last week giving the longer term targets for emissions. There's one level that's really crystal clear. And if we look at TTF, we are actually up slightly this morning, and NBP did actually break to new historic lows yesterday, and we put a post up on LinkedIn. The key thing on NBP is just to do the analysis. If you've got your chart, this is a 1 minute chart. Updata stores all the historic data, so it caches it all. So if you're running on Bloomberg or Reuters and you've got this ICE data coming in, it will keep building that data for you, so it just gets longer and longer. Great for back testing. So you just hit the T key, and first thing I'm going to do is just increase the box size. So by increasing the box size, we start to see these downside targets, and really cannot ignore the fact that we've got targets pointing to critical levels. And notice how these targets were given and met all the way down. Little mini upside targets were met, but the downside targets are much bigger. That's because we've got more selling thrusts, and that's how it works. And you can do that on any chart you like. So last of all, we're going to take a look at German power. German power actually also just has been weak below that 150 mark. We're sitting right on that at the moment. This data coming off Montel on EEX, and we see here we've got these downside targets here on the 1 minute chart as well. 144.60, 145. That's where we're heading on German power at the moment. Again, don't forget to vary the box size, and you'll start to see these targets kicking in. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.